What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and today I would like to discuss my album of the week, the thing I've been listening to by far the most for this past week, the week of August 16th through the 22nd, 2024. And it is a debut album from a West Coast California band. All right. I think they're from Santa Rosa, maybe? Santa Cruz? Santa? They're from a Santa, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say somewhere up in the north. I don't think it was Santa Ana, but who cares? West Coast represent. I'm here in Texas. Shout out to my brethren. But it is Vile Rites' debut album, Senescence. It is death metal, pretty much at times, just some really good old school death metal, but it is also very progressive. There are a lot of really, really tasty progressive elements that both the sort of more progressive side and the more traditional side are just so perfectly melded and matched and sit next to each other so well. This is absolutely a home run for a debut album. I'm already really excited to see what their second album is, because if it's in any way better than this is going to be a band that's going to be long for a while. The bar is raised high. It is 6 songs. It is your traditional death metal. So I know I have friends who don't like certain types of metal because of the vocals. They don't like growl vocals. They don't like the sort of traditional death metal growl vocals. Those are here. That's what you get. It does seem like towards the last couple tracks, there's a little more clarity in the vocals. I have no issue with the vocals. They start pretty forcefully and I think effectively. And I think the mix on the album and the use of vocals works really well in the context of the album. So if it is something you are against and you are open-minded to give it a try, I think this is a really good album to give it a try for, because the actual music itself pays off, will reward you for your efforts. And honestly, if you can come around and learn to like these kind of vocals, there is an entire musical world opened up to you to make your life richer. And I almost kind of do think this is a pretty good example of that. A good example of something that maybe you can warm up to those vocals. So let's get that out of the way. Because that's pretty much the only issue I can imagine anybody has with this album. It is 6 tracks. One of them is your typical sort of like metal, short little atmospheric interlude. It comes as track number 4. It's about a minute and a half. And it works really well. The first 3 tracks are the shortest of the 3 tracks, somewhere around, I think the average of the 3 is about 6 minutes. And then you get the short little interlude. And then the last 2 tracks, I think one is like just over 8 and one is closer to 11, maybe over 11. And even though we're really only adding on a couple minutes from like the longest first track to that 8-minute track, there's a nice sort of like break in the middle. Like they really take those extra minutes and use them really effectively. In like a prog sense, I guess, they have both the middle of the 8-minute one and the end of the 11-minute one kind of lean more into the progressive side of music. And that you get these either spacey interludes in the course of track number 5 or track number 6. You get this incredible outro that just kind of goes on longer than you would think it would go on, but that's the beauty of it. It's just the repetition and the rhythm and the groove just kind of being there, and you can ride that out at the end, almost in a way as if it's lulling you to sleep, but it's lulling you to sleep in a death metal universe, so it's not that lulling. It's still a little disturbing. But 6 songs, highly technical sections. This band has chops. And I think the beauty of this album is I think some bands just exude, I don't know, confidence and swagger. And like the parts when they get highly technical and you're just like, okay, whoa, trying to keep track of what's going on. It still sounds like they're on stage just swagging. Like, it's not like, okay, guys, they're all like focused and like they lose that sort of live groove. There's still that groove there. I mean, it's technically not there, but it is there because it fits so well into like the overall sort of framework of each song, that when we get highly technical and we get to like these crazy the typical death metal tempo changes and things going chaotic, that you still are just like in it. So when we do eventually return to some kind of crazy groove, whether it be for 4 bars or 8 bars or usually not for very long, those grooves stand out so incredibly well, and then that like just groove just enhances the technical, you know. I mean, I think that's the same for a lot of death metal bands, but the fact that this is their debut album, they do have an EP that's pretty good, I think shows the potential of this album, and then to have them actually realize that potential on the first album is pretty fantastic. But yeah, first song starts off very proggy, very dramatic. I'm going to compare this to Mastodon. Kind of reminds me of the way the Crack the Sky opens, where you just get this like really dark, intense, proggy metal action. And you know that's not going to last. You know that's eventually going to drop you into something that's crazy. And it does drop you into something crazy, but you get a good minute of this band really flexing its prog muscles. And I think as someone who's a prog fan, and also has a lot of issues with some prog metal, to hear there's an authenticity to it. Like they get it, they understand. Fantastic stuff. And then about a minute in there, this killer guitar riff just kind of takes over. And then all of a sudden we're just in like, you know, death metal chaos for like the next 5 minutes. Absolutely exhilarating stuff. We get a nice tasty solo, some technical passages, a couple of just absolutely killer grooves. You just want to bang your head for a couple, maybe 8 bars, 12 bars. And it just all feels so effortless. There are some death metal bands which try so hard for these like abrupt left turns or U-turns or like changes in tempos that it's almost like whiplash inducing. Everything on here feels just natural. It feels like they're just playing it live and they're grooving with it. And it's just like, there's an effortlessness to this that just makes it really fun. Really fun. Senescence, the title of the album. Did I ever say the title of the album? It means, what does it mean? It means like decay, right? Deterioration, things like getting old. It's a biology term. And the lyrics, what I've been able to discern from the lyrics, are definitely on the darker side. And the music definitely has dark undertones to it. The opening of track 1. Track 2 is a little bit funkier. The actual, I guess, Senescent, I guess it's the title track ish. Definitely has more of a funkier groove and tends to be maybe a little more, no, it's still got some really cool prog passages in it, but it's a lot more upbeat and funky, and maybe even like, I think I even wrote like it's slightly almost joyful at times. I mean, like there's absolutely some good positive energy in there. That's a little funkier, but then the third song, again, we go back to sort of like a dramatic opening thing, really nice bass driven stuff. So the music does in many instances connect to the dark message of the lyrics, but the music is so good, it's just exhilarating, and you're just like, you want to go along for the ride. So the first song, great opener, really dynamic, lots of different passages. Second track, Senescent, has a much more funkier opening, like a prog funky, you know, not like a funkadelic funky, but like a prog, you know, weirdness going on. Nice little breakdown in the middle of this for about a minute, where things kind of get, I think it's about a minute, it might be much shorter than that actually, but where things get kind of like, you know, weird and spacey and atmospheric. We get a nice breakdown in there, and then the funky groove returns about the 3.5 minute mark. This is like a 6.5 minute song. Get a nice solo, and then that middle part that's in the middle, that sort of chill proggy part, returns at the end. It kind of puts a nice bow on this. The third song, Shiftless Wanderings. It's a great song. I'm not going to say I don't like it. It's probably my least favorite song on here, because I think the title of the song kind of matches the tone of the music, in that the first song has a very dramatic prog kind of tone setter at first that sets the tone for the song. The second song has that funky opening, which I think also kind of sets the tone for this one. This one has a dramatic opening also. You got the drums and the bass kind of going at it and driving it. But once the vocals hit about 45 seconds in, and we're off into like, you know, typical death metal territory, there seems to be a lot of like a lot of like just minor changes in tempo or direction that almost kind of sound like shiftless wanderings. Like it almost seems like they're not trying to make a bold statement with the song, but are just trying to like make their way through it. And that comes across as sounding it comes across as sounding like I don't like the song, because I do like the song, but I do think there is something oddly successful about their intent that in a weird way undermines the song. But because it's the third song on the album and because the interlude follows it, it works perfectly within the flow of the album. So that's a weird defense of a song I like, but there's that. That bass part, the drum bass part, comes back at the end to kind of, wrap up the song nicely. The slow piece is called Ephemeral Reverie of Eroded Dreams. Rain, you get the sound of rain, which is always good. I'm always up for rain sounds. Totally awesome. It's about a minute and a half long. Then that goes into Transcendent Putrefaction. This is another one that has this is the one that I think that is the predominantly drums bass intro. I think the song Shiftless Wanderings has like a bass melody, or the bass is like driving it. This is a song that has the actual like drums bass sort of intro. The guitar comes in with like some scraping noises, some like ominous scraping noises. We settle into like a nice prog metal groove shortly before about a minute, just over a minute. We're off, into like death metal craziness. Vocals come in, get a nice bunch of technical runs. About 2 minutes in, we get a complete. About 3.5 minutes into, what is this, an 8-9 minute song, we get a really nice breakdown into some sort of proggy sci-fi atmospherics, like their version of the Grateful Dead Space. We get a legitimate pocket of that in the middle of this song. And then right before the 6-minute mark, we kind of pick back up into like a kind of a squirrely, funky kind of prog groove, kind of slinky, kind of sneaky. And then about just over 6, right before the 6.5 minute, we turn to like the full attack. And then it kind of fades out and we get a really, 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 really awesome groove. It's an awesome groove. And it's pretty straightforward and pretty tight. And eventually it just kind of, it fades out. Like you could have played this longer. Like, I hope I see them on this tour, and I hope that they kind of jam out that indie groove. That could have gone on longer. I appreciate that it doesn't, that they made the decision and faded out, but it's a really, really good groove. And it makes me want to go back and listen again. So if that was your reason, you succeeded, band. And then the last song is Banished to Solitude, Adrift on the Infinite Waves. I just noticed the title. I've been listening to this and haven't really been checking the names of the songs, but the last section of this, that sort of repetitive section that kind of goes on and on for like longer than you think it would, but you're not upset about that. Adrift on the Infinite Waves. Yeah, I just got it right now. This one's kind of upbeat. This one's almost kind of happy death metal. It's got a really almost like positive, happy vibe to it. Very confident in their playing. About halfway through, just over halfway through at the 6-minute mark, we slow down pretty dramatically into like a proggy, ballady section for about a minute. And then the vocals come back in and we kind of build up for a little bit. And then we start into that sort of pattern of infinite waves to close out the album. I don't know. I think it's about 45 minutes long. It's like your average length album, if I'm not mistaken. And it's really good, man. It's really, really, really good. Yeah, I mean, if you like death metal, if you like progressive death metal, this is their first album. I predict they're going to be on the scene for a while. Oh, they also have, and I think in one of their early songs, it's one of the first couple songs, they use keyboards every once in a while, and the keyboards are just kind of like, I think it's a 3-piece. I think this band is a 3-piece, if I'm not mistaken. I know very little about them, other than I've just been listening to this almost obsessively. I think it's a 3-piece, but somebody plays keyboards at one point, and the keyboards, it's almost like whatever's going on below, the keyboards are just like this UFO, like doing like a flyby, but like narrow, like you have to duck. That's how close the flyby is. But it's just these awesome swirling keys that sort of exist above the musical plane that I don't know if they're really necessary, but they're really good. So yeah. Like they don't detract, they definitely add. But yeah, So anyways, that's it. That is my album of the week, Vile Rites, Senescence. Highly, highly recommend it. I don't know, how many death metal fans are watching this. But if you're willing to take a chance on something new, willing to tolerate some vocals that maybe aren't your favorite, you're willing to hear some incredibly great music, some incredibly well played death metal, man. This is a band that I predict is going to be around for a while. I hope it's going to be around for a while. So anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. And if you do check this out, please let me know your thoughts, man. Because, I'd love to share I'd love to discuss this band with somebody. All right, peace. Talk to you later.